Please welcome Huzama Habayeb and Hanan.
Yeah, so shall I stand here? Yeah, or here? Here? Okay. زمرد قصة قصيرة. وجدتني أسرع إلى تلك الغرفة التي لا تحب أن يسكنها أحد حتى الصراصير. أتفقد صديقتي التي قيل لي بأنها فقدت عقلها بعد أن خطفت منها ببغاؤها التي كان اسمها زمرد، فهجرت شقتها الجميلة وانتقلت للعيش هنا. هتفت سامية ما أن فتحت لي الباب وضمتني إلى صدرها. ألف الحمد لله على سلامتك يا حبيبتي حنان، أهلا وسهلا بك في بيروت. عانقتني للمرة الثانية بينما سعدت أنا بوجهها الضحوك، وأيقنت أن ما سمعت عنها كان مبالغا به، فهي لم تفقد عقلها، وبالتالي كانت الغرفة نظيفة، إنما كادت تكون بلا نافذة وتطل على جدران من الإسمنت لا على شارع أم شجرة، وبذلك تشعر العين بأنها في سجن، وكأن سامية سمعت حشرجات أفكاري فأجهشت فجأة في البكاء، ثم تمالكت نفسها حتى جلست قبالة قفص الببغاء إياه الذي كان في لوس أنجلوس، غير أنه الآن مهجور، ومن حول أسلاكه الحديدية ورود صناعية وصحون طعام وكاسات ماء. خيل إلي أن القفص الفارغ يعاني من الوحدة ويعيش حالة حداد على غياب زمرد. أجهشت سامية بالبكاء من جديد. يا ليتنا لم نرجع من لوس أنجلوس، بعدك تتذكري حنان لما زرتينا هناك، وهلأ أولاد الحرام خطفوا زمرد. أهلا أهلا بحنان. ظهرت أم سامية وفي يدها صينية عليها أكواب من شراب التوت. سألتني عن زوجي وعن ابني وابنتي، وإذا ما كنت ما زلت أحب العيش في لندن الباردة، ولماذا لا أزور لبنان أكثر من مرة كل عام. هل تذكرين زمرد يا حنان؟ ومن ينسى زمرد ابنتك المدللة؟ لكن يبدو أن سامية لم تسمعني، إذ انهمكت بفتح علبة بسكوت من صفيح، وإذا بها كومة مبعثرة من الأوراق بدلا من الحلوى. أخرجت منها بطاقة، ثم قفزت بعينيها فوق الجمل، وفمها يتمتم بكلمات إلى أن علا صوتها فجأة. لقد وقعت في غرام زمرد أنا الأخرى. لا بد أن مسيو كريستيان ديور قد صمم لها بنفسه بريش وفراء وجهها وصدرها كأنه ياقة من التنتنة والدونتيلا الناعمة، إذ أراد لزمرد أن تكون كملكات إنجلترا. أردت أن أضحك على وصف المبالغ به. كنت قد كتبت هذه البطاقة إلى سامية أشكرها على حفاوتها بي أثناء زيارتي للوس أنجلوس، لأجد نفسي ما أن دخلت شقتها هناك وكأني أدخل مسرحا. الممثلة الوحيدة فوقه هي الببغاء، تقف على خشبته التي هي عبارة عن القفص، وقد ثبتت أصابعها حول قضبانه الحديدية لتبدل من لكنتها، وهي تجيب على رنين الهاتف وتقليد الإجابة وهي تقول ألو ألو، مشغولة حبيبتي، ثم تنتقل بأفكارها ولسانها إلى درزات ماكينة خياطة كانت تومئ برأسها، تخفضه أو ترفعه، تقلد من يحتسي أو يرشف الشاي الساخن بصوت مسموع، شوية عسل الله يخليك، ثم لتصيح ماما سامية ماما سامية عالتواليت عالتواليت. أسرعت سامية إليها لتقفز زمرد من القضبان إلى كتف صديقتي ودخلتا الحمام. لحقت بهما. تمسك سامية بزمرد من تحت جناحيها فوق فتحة المرحاض. ما أن تريضت الببغاء هتفت سامية برافو برافو يا شاطرة، ثم دنت بقطعة من البسكوت من منقار زمرد التي لم تتوقف عن الترديد برافو برافو يا شاطرة، طمعا في قطعة أخرى من البسكوت وثالثة، إلى أن رن جرس باب البيت ونادت زمرد قبل أن تفتح أمها الباب كيف جيراننا اليوم؟ وفعلا دخلت امرأة لبنانية وهي تغص بالضحك قائلة سمعت، ثم التفتت إلى أم سامية وسألت كيف جيراننا اليوم؟ عرفتني سامية بالجارة فيوليت التي انضمت إلينا نحن المشاهدين لعرض زمرد. وعندما نهضت أم سامية بعد أن استأذنت منا جميعا سمعنا زمرد تقلد صوت سرير فتح الباب، وما أن دخلت أم سامية غرفة النوم حتى على أذان صلاة العصر في الشقة. الله أكبر الله أكبر الله أكبر الله أكبر. وكانت المؤذنة هي زمرد التي لم تأبه بالصيحة التي ندت عن دهشة العظيمة، بل أكملت الأذان وهي تحني رأسها يمينا ويسارا. عندما تنحنحت وسعلت استغرقت سامية فيوليت بالضحك والقهقهات، خاصة عندما ختمت زمرد صلاتها بتقليدها لخشخشة الميكروفون. لذنا جميعنا بالصمت، تمتعنا به راحة وسلام وطمأنينة دخلت أذني ومنها إلى عقلي وقلبي. لا، لم تكن مفردات الأذان هي التي أسرتني، بل حوارنا الأخرس لأنفسنا وعودتنا نحن الأربع، فيوليت المسيحية ونحن الثلاث المسلمات، إلى الوطن الآمن آنذاك، والذي كان يتخطى حواجز الأديان التي حولت البلاد إلى بؤر من ميليشيات وجبهات تتنازع وتتقاتل وتقوم بتهجيرنا من منطقة إلى أخرى، ثم لتلفظنا خارج لبنان وكأننا زبد أمواج قذر. الأذان للصلاة لا على لسان إنسان، بل ببغاء محايد حرك فينا ما لم ينجح أي نداء آخر بتحريك عاطفتنا واشتياقنا إلى أنفسنا الماضية. أعادنا إلى عقد الجيد الجميل، ذاك الذي قامت الحرب بفرط حبيباته وبعثرتنا في كل مكان، القريب والبعيد، في شتى أنحاء الكرة الأرضية. برافو زمرد، برافو زمرد، نادت سامية التي أخبرتني أن أمها كانت قد جلبت معها من لبنان إلى لوس أنجلوس كاسيت مسجلا عليه الأذان لتسمعه زمرد يوما بعد آخر وتحفظه عن ظهر قلب. إيه والله العجيب أن زمرد عندما ترى الماما تنهض باتجاه الحمام في هذا الوقت فإنها تعرف أن الوقت قد حان لتأدية صلاة العصر. أرى الشرشف إياه الذي كان يغطي قفص زمرد في لوس أنجلوس أثناء الليل مطويا الآن إلى جانب القفص المهجور الذي خيل إلي أنه يغطي نفسه بنفسه منذ أن رحلت عنه زمرد. أبواق السيارات وضجيج الشارع لم تفلح في بث الحياة في هذا المكان الكئيب. حنان رح جن، صدقيني رح جن. أخذتها على كتفي مثل العادة حتى نشتري منقوشة بالزعتر والجبنة، وكنا ناطرين دورنا عندما اقترب من زمرد شخص زيادة عن اللزوم، فجفلت حبيبتي وطارت. لحقت بها، لكن سائق التاكسي اللعين كان أسرع منا، خطفها ووضعها في صندوق السيارة واختفى. يا ليتني قصصت لها جناحا من جناحيها. أين هي يا ربي؟ وينك يا زمرد؟ أسمعها تناديني في الليل وفي النهار. لم أدع جدارا إلا وألصقت صورتها عليه، وإعلانا عن قصة اختطافها وزعت أنا وأصحاب المنشورات على البيوت والمكاتب، مؤكدة فيها أن من يعيدها لي سيحصل على مكافأة مالية سرية. اتصل بي كثيرون كانوا يريدون إما المال أو الضحك علي وطأ الحنك. بصراحة كرهت الدنيا، كرهت البيت، لأن كل زاوية فيه تذكرني بزمرد. انتقلت مع أمي إلى هذه الشقة. تعرفي أنا منذ 5 أشهر منذ أن اختفت وأنا لا أعرف طعما للنوم العميق الحقيقي الهادئ. أتمدد على الكنبة وهاتفي بقربي، كذلك شنطة يدي، حتى إذا ما وجدها أحدهم واتصل بي هببت كالصاعقة. نهضت أم سامية ثم عادت وفي يدها هاتف خليوي يصدح بصوت زمرد، مقلدة هذه المرة صوت سامية الشجي المعبر واللطيف. يأخذني آذانها هذه المرة إلى حينا في بيروت، إلى طفولتي وأنا ألعب في الحي بين البيوت والحدائق وسطح بيتنا، وكل ما حولي يحيطني بالدفء، حتى الغسيل المنشور على الحبال. عندما كان صوت المؤذن يعلو من غير مكبر الصوت، وكيف كان الهدوء والسكينة يهبطان على حينا فجأة، وصوت الأذان يطغى على الأصوات الأخرى من حولي، حتى على الأصوات التي كانت تزدحم في داخلي. كنت أشعر أن صوت المؤذن يمتص حرارة الشمس الحارقة، فلا تعود تصب جام غضبها علينا، بل تلامسنا بكل رفق وحنان، ليملأني الاستغراب بأن الجميع يستمعون إلى نداء واحد يطمئنهم ويؤكد لهم أنهم جميعهم في نفس المركب، وكأن الحي كله يأخذ نفسا عميقا يعبئ به صدره. ثم ليسرع جميعنا نحن الصغار إلى حديقة الجارة صاحبة الدجاج والديك والصيصان، التي كان يقال لنا أنها كانت تصلي مع انطلاق صوت الأذان. نتأملها وهي تخفض رؤوسها لتشرب الماء، ثم تعلو برؤوسها نحو السماء، فنغني لها: هالصيصان تق تق شو حلوين، حوالين مبسوطين، تق تق شربوا مي، تق تق قالوا خي، تق تق شكروا رب رفعوا رأس ممنونين. تعيدني أم سهام إلى الغرفة الكئيبة: يا بنتي يا حنان، لازم تقنعي سامية أن زمرد ما زالت عايشة بيننا، فهي عندما تؤذن تدخل وتعيش في قلب كل من يسمعها، فيعم الصفاء في القلوب. من يدري، لربما نصيبها هو أن ترحل عنا حتى تؤذن للكثيرين وليس لنا فقط، فيتذكر البشر خالقهم. وجدتني أزيد في قلبي حتى ننادي عقولنا السابحة والطائرة المتنقلة بين أكثر من فكرة إلى الخلود والتروي والدخول إلى غرفة الرأس وإغلاق الباب عليها من أجل أن تستكين ولو للحظة. ودعت سامية وأمها، لتضحك سامية وهي تقول قبل أن تغلق الباب خلفي: أتمنى أن تكون زمرد الآن تعيش في بيت شاب وسيم، فهي كانت تحب الشباب، كانت تحبهم كثيرا. Now, thank you. Now, do you want Huzama to read something, or do you want me now to? Yeah, the English.
I forgot to say, of course, it's a new story.
Yeah, it is a new story. Yeah, it's not published yet. It will be published in Singapore. Penguin Singapore. Yeah. They asked me to write something, short stories, not from many, They wanted to ask me something to write about Islam or the Arab world. I said, well, I'll non-fiction story. Yeah, I said, okay, I'll write short story. Immediately I thought of Zumurrud, which I knew Zumurrud. The story is all, it's real story. Yeah. I saw her in Los Angeles. Yeah. Okay. But I'm going to read it in English, but you all understood it in Arabic, no?
Yeah.
Shall I not read it? No? Yeah? Okay. بدنا قراءة Marina.
I think for the web, I think for our film,
Yeah.
we're having a lot of visits to the site.
Okay,
so
good.
I think for the film, it's very useful for people
Okay,
to have
good. Yeah.
because it's a real lesson. I mean,
Okay.
it's a pleasure, but also a lesson.
Yeah. Zumurrud by Hanan al-Shaykh, translated by Catherine Cobham. I rushed to that room where nobody wanted to live, not even cockroaches, searching for my friend. They said she'd lost her mind after her parrot Zumurrud was kidnapped. She had abandoned her beautiful flat in the building owned by her father and moved to live here. Samia opened the door and hugged me, shouting, "Thank God you're safe, my dear Hanan. Welcome to Beirut." She embraced me again, and the sight of her laughing face convinced me that the reports I'd heard were exaggerated. She hadn't lost her mind, and what's more, the room was clean, even if it didn't have a proper window and looked out onto concrete walls rather than a street or trees, so it was a little like being in prison. As if Samia could hear the whirring of my thoughts, she suddenly burst into tears, then controlled herself and sat down in front of the same bird cage that had been in Los Angeles, though it was now empty. Artificial flowers were entwined around its metal bars, and food and water containers stood empty inside it. It looked lonely, as if it was mourning Zumurrud. Samia burst into tears once more. If only we hadn't come back from Los Angeles. Do you still remember, Hanan, when you visited us there? Life was fantastic, and now the bastards have kidnapped Zumurrud. Welcome, welcome, Hanan. Samia's mother appeared from the corridor, carrying a tray laden with glasses of mulberry juice, which she placed on the table in front of us. She asked after my husband, son, and daughter, wondered if I still liked living in cold London, and why I didn't visit Lebanon more than once a year. Do you remember, Hanan? Interrupted Samia. Do you remember Zumurrud? Who could forget Zumurrud, your spoiled daughter? But Samia didn't appear to be listening to me, as she was focused on opening a biscuit tin, inside which was an untidy heap of papers. She took out a card and skimmed over the words, muttering to herself until her voice suddenly grew louder. I've fallen in love with Zumurrud, just like you, she read. Christian Dior must have designed the feathers on her face and chest himself. A lace ruff, for he wanted Zumurrud to be like the old queens of England. I wanted to laugh at this exaggerated description of mine. I'd written this card to thank Samia for her hospitality while I was in Los Angeles during a US book tour. The moment I entered Samia's flat in LA, it was as if I had walked into a theater where the only actor on stage was the parrot, perched on the metal bars of her cage. She changed accents as she answered the phone. Hello, hello, the line's busy, dear. Then switched to imitating the whir of the sewing machine, gesturing with her head, lowering it and raising it, moving from one side to the other, going in and out of the cage. Suddenly, she was mimicking someone sipping hot tea. A little honey, please. Then yelling, Mama, Mama, Samia, I need the toilet. Samia hurried towards her. Zumurrud jumped from the bars of the cage onto her shoulder, and the two of them went into the bathroom. I followed them. Samia held Zumurrud under her wings or her armpits over the lavatory, and as soon as she had peed, Samia shouted, Bravo, well done, you clever girl. She held a piece of biscuit up to Zumurrud's beak, while Zumurrud continued to repeat, Bravo, bravo, clever girl, hoping for a second or third piece of biscuit, until finally the doorbell rang and Zumurrud called out, How are you neighbors today? When Samia opened the door, a Lebanese woman entered, shocking with laughter. I heard her, I heard her. The woman then turned to Samia's mother and asked, How are you? How are our neighbors today? I still remember how Samia's mother stood up and asked us to excuse her, and how Zumurrud imitated the squeak of the door. Then a few moments later, as Samia's mother went into her room, the call to afternoon prayer rose up in the flat. Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar. The muezzin was Zumurrud, who paid no attention to my astonished shriek, but carried on with the call to prayer, bowing her head right and left. When she cleared her throat and coughed, Samia and Violette dissolved into helpless laughter that grew louder as Zumurrud finished her prayer by imitating the crackle of the microphone. We all took refuge in silence, delighting in it. Peace filled my mind and heart. No, it wasn't the words of the call to prayer that comforted me, but our mute dialogue with ourselves, our return. We four, Violette the Christian, and we three Muslims, to our country when it was safe, and when it disregarded the barriers between the religions that had now transformed it into a hotbed of militias and opposing fronts fighting one another, destroying daily life and forcing us to migrate from one area to another before spewing us out of Lebanon as if we were dirty sea foam. The call to prayer, not on human tongue, but on an impartial parrot's tongue, succeeded in moving us and arousing our longing for our past selves in a way that no other call could, restoring us to that beautiful necklace whose beads the war had unstrung, and scattered far and wide to different parts of the globe. Bravo, Zumurrud, called Samia, and told me that her mother had brought a cassette recording of the call to prayer from Lebanon to Los Angeles. So Zumurrud had heard it day in, day out, and learned it by heart. The weird thing is that when Zumurrud sees Mama get up and go towards the bathroom, she knows it's time for the afternoon prayer. I stood up utterly amazed by the bird and full of affection for her, wanting to be close to this miracle. In a flash, she moved from the bars of the cage to the long wooden perch, and from there to the table where she came to halt. But Samia scolded her and ordered her back into the cage, telling her she should respect guests like me. As soon as the parrot had obeyed her orders, Samia said to me, "That wretched parrot was really keen to bite you, Hanan. She bites hard." I took this in Arabic because I was thinking of the time, so it was too long to read. But I haven't done anything to make her want to punish me. I didn't eat her food. We all laughed. She's worried that you will stay too long, and I'll be late taking her to Venice Beach. She loves eating pizza there and flirting with her admirers. Zumurrud threw me a look full of venom and then collapsed in the bottom of the cage, motionless, as if unconscious. "See, everyone? Look, Hanan, see how naughty she is. The little bitch, madame, is playing dead." I approached the cage where Zumurrud was lying on her back without stirring. "Who wants to eat baked beans? Poor Zumurrud, she is dead, so she can't have any." At this point, Zumurrud got to her feet and shouted, "Baked beans, yay, yummy." "You want some? Not a single bean for you unless you say sorry to Hanan. Go on, say, 'I'm sorry, Tante Hanan. I'm sorry, Tante Hanan.'" Samia opened a small tin of baked beans and offered a spoonful to Zumurrud, who took the spoon in her claws and raised it to her mouth. "A bit more, please," she shouted once she was back in her cage. I see the same sheet that used to cover Zumurrud's cage at night in LA, now folded next to the abandoned cage, which looked covered anyway, now that Zumurrud was gone. Neither the sound of car horns nor the street noise managed to inject life into this melancholy place. I'm going crazy, Hanan, believe me, I'm going crazy. I took her on my shoulder as usual when we went to buy manouche with za'atar and cheese. We were waiting our turn when someone came too close to Zumurrud, and my darling got scared and flew off. I chased after her, but the damn taxi driver was too quick for us. He grabbed her, put her in the boot of his car, and drove off. If only I'd clipped her wings. Oh, Lord, where is she? Where are you, Zumurrud? I hear her calling me night and day. There is not a wall left where I haven't stuck her picture and an announcement about her kidnapping. Me and my friends have distributed leaflets in houses and offices saying there is a reward for whoever brings her back. And of course, lots of people have been in touch with me, even from Syria. Yes, yeah, I believe that they wanted my money. Honestly, I hated the word. I hated money or to make fun of me and waste my time. Honestly, I hated the world. I hated the house because every corner of it reminded me of Zumurrud. And when I couldn't stop crying, I moved with my mother to this flat. You know, for 5 months, since she disappeared, I haven't known real deep, peaceful sleep. I lie down on the sofa with my phone and handbag next to me so that if someone finds her and contacts me, I can be up and out in a flash. Samia's mother got up, muttering. Then she came back with a cell phone in her hand, from which Zumurrud's voice sang out, this time imitating Samia's soulful, expressive, kind voice, rather than the throat-clearing and coughing of the muezzin that the parrot had imitated in LA. On this occasion, her call to prayers takes me to our quarter of Beirut, to my childhood, as I played there among the houses and gardens on the roof of our house. Everything surrounded me with warmth, then even the washing hanging out to dry on the line. When the muezzin's voice rose up without the aid of a microphone, peace and calm suddenly descended, and the sound of the call to prayer dominated the other sounds around me, even the voices thronging inside me. I used to feel that the muezzin's voice absorbed the burning heat of the sun, and it no longer poured its cup anger over us, but rather stroked us with gentle affection. It amazed me that everybody listened to one call, which reassured them and convinced them they were all in the same boat. The whole quarter took a deep breath, filling its chest with air, and we children carried on with our games, but calmly, with no screaming or shouting. Then we would all rush into the neighbor's garden. She kept hens, a rooster, and some little chicks, and we were told these chicks used to start praying the moment they heard the call to prayer. We would watch them as they lowered their heads to drink water and then raise them to the sky, and we would sing to them. Little chicks, cluck, cluck, how sweet, cluck, cluck. They gather round their mother, all content, cluck, cluck. They drink water, cluck, cluck. They say khay. There is no word in translation in English for khay. Cluck, cluck. They raise their faces to the sky and thank their Lord, cluck, cluck. Samia's mother bring me back to the melancholy room. My daughter Hanan, you have to convince Samia that Zumurrud still lives among us. When she recites the call to prayer, she enters the hearts of all who hear her, and serenity reigns in these hearts. Who knows, maybe it's her fate to leave us so she can make the call to prayer to many people, not just to us. And all those people will remember their Creator. To myself I added, and so that we ask our minds that drift and hover and move between so many thoughts to settle and reflect and turn inwards and shut out the world and be still, even if it is only for a moment. I said goodbye to Samia and her mother. Samia laughed, and as she closed the doors, said, I hope Zumurrud is living in a handsome young man's house now. She always loved young men, loved them a lot. Thank you. معلش يلا.
Well, I think I already met half of the guys, the gang here. So I'll start in English and then I'll move into Arabic because preferably the English is going to be longer, as you can imagine. So this is from Velvet, Mukhmal, and it's this part of the novel about a woman. Usually we have, of course, in Mukhmal, we've been talking about Hawa and Sid Qamar, the two leading ladies, and there's a third woman in love. Her name is Durrat al-Ain, and Hawa, she meets Durrat al-Ain and she loves her so much, and she wants almost to copy her life because it's one of the most fascinating love stories in the novel. It's too good to be true, and it's very much like a fairy tale. Even the name, Durrat al-Ain, it's a name from old Arabic tales, the pearl of the eye. And so she met her years ago, and she was involved in making the dress for the henna, and it was of velvet, this dress. And it shed lights on the love story of Durrat al-Ain. So it's like once upon a time thing, but it's so interesting in a way that some people say is it real or not, this story? Or maybe it's the creation of Hawa's imagination. Durrat al-Ain was no mere client. Hawa was not accustomed to visiting her clients in their homes or to delivering completed sewing to them. The truth was that she was infatuated by this fascinating woman in the loveliest form that infatuation can take. Hawa had met her for the first time more than 15 years earlier. The young Durrat al-Ain had come to her with her mother, preceded by happiness. She told her that she was engaged, something she hardly needed to say since she was proudly playing with the ring on her finger. She was thin, with a tawny complexion that had a watery copper glint. She certainly wasn't beautiful in the sought-after peasant meaning of the word. Yet her face, with its finely carved features, had something captivating about it, something that seized the eye and the heart, and her entire person had a fine presence, an absolute authority concealed in boundless lightness. Durrat al-Ain was enchanting. At first, Hawa believed that her magic was related to her very wide, honey-colored eyes or to her broad forehead covered by thick, soft, bronze-colored bangs, or perhaps the reason for it was her oval lips, puffed as if they had been injected with water. Or perhaps the matter was related to her even teeth, large without being coarse and gleaming white. When she smiled or laughed, the white of her teeth joined the avid pearly white of her eyes and lit up the whole surface of her face. Or perhaps the source of the magic was her fascinating name, Pearl of the Eye, which hinted at tales from ancient books. But Hawa realized with perceptive sensitivity that the matter was related to love. For Durrat al-Ain loved passionately and was beloved. The love story that joined her to Faris was repeated from one end of Baqa camp to the other. In fact, it was said that it went beyond the borders of the camp and that journalists came to visit her wanting to record the story. And even that a Palestinian producer who lived in Britain wanted to make a film about Faris and Durrat al-Ain. He was going to sit with her for hours to record the events of the story. But after thinking it over, Durrat al-Ain did not like the idea. She was afraid, as she confided to Hawa, that the evil eye of envy would disturb her life from the other side of the screen. This is, Arabic woman thing. Hawa made the dress that Durrat al-Ain wore to the henna night before she was married, and the dress became the talk of all the women, basically because it contravened the reigning taste. It wasn't made of affected silk or flashy satin. It wasn't adorned with silver, gold, or diamonds. The color wasn't icy or bright. It was likewise free of beads, sequins, and glass crystals, stripped of ruffles or any puffed skirt with a bouffant tulle lining. It was above the usual pupils of pride. That's not a dress for a bride, protested her mother, the mother of the bride, at first. But when Durrat al-Ain put it on and walked in it, she emerged as a true princess of make-believe, or rather, she emerged as Durrat al-Ain. The dress was made of velvet. It was a faithful translation of what velvet should be, according to Sitt Qamar, and after her Hawa, with no additions except in the strictest limits, and then only in a way that emphasized and did not impose. Durrat al-Ain asked Hawa to go with her to downtown Amman to buy the fabric. So Hawa chose for her the most beautiful and expensive piece of velvet in a wine color that was luxurious by nature, even though it was also somewhat deceptive. The dress was sleeveless and strapless, enclosing Durrat al-Ain completely at the breast, flowing along the smooth curves of her body, adhering to her firm waist and flat abdomen. When it reached the last line of the abdomen, it opened out into a long white skirt a double bill, like a broad expanse of sea, with dense layers of waves, some folding over others. One wave would strike another, and then more waves would ripple away successively in a movement that saw the color change as the wine color moved from light to shadow, fluctuating between mellowed wine, jojoba red, brick, chestnut, cherry, and crimson. Its silk lining in the same shade of wine red gave it greater volume and harmony, so the waves of the fabric seemed boisterous. When Durrat al-Ain stepped proudly in the dress, it seemed as if she were emerging from the sea. Only one addition did Hawa consider worthy. She framed the line of the breast, which took the form of two domes in thin black lace, like dar kuhul around an eye. From the remnants of the fabric, Hawa fashioned small wine-red flowers, and in the center of each, she embroidered two tear-shaped pearls. Durrat al-Ain planted them in her bronze-colored hair, which she had put up in a wavy chignon. The bride limited her accessories to a strand of pearls around her neck and a pair of earrings from which pearls dangled like large pears, their radiance reflecting on her coppery complexion. Durrat al-Ain still has the tender velvet relic of that night. The dress no longer fits her body, which has brought forth children, life, and extended love. Nevertheless, she can't bear to part with it or even to lend it to the many brides who have asked for it. Hawa herself hasn't sewn anything like it. For the women of the camp who reject pure velvet as too expensive, or who undervalue its possibilities and potential, or who replace it with hybrid types of velvet or varieties mixed with polyester, none of them has realized the true value of noble velvet that is emotional, that is eternal. From time to time, Durrat al-Ain seeks out the dress, which she keeps hanging in a closet in a protective bag, like a long sheath with a zipper. Her hand slips over its folded velvet waves, and wine-colored pillows resound in her spirit. She smells the dense fabric, breathing it in, and is filled with desire. Durrat al-Ain was 14 when Faris fell in love with her. He was 6 years older and worked in a vegetable store that sold in bulk to other stores and to vegetable carts in the market, overseeing filling the orders and delivering them. No sooner did he look carelessly into her wide eyes and the overflowing wells of honey in them than he melted instantly within them. Durrat al-Ain was on her way home from school, and her bronze-colored hair, inclined toward sunny blonde, was hanging in two braids over her smooth chest, while her dense bangs floated over her forehead, rifled by the air. She stopped at a shop selling juice and ice cream and bought a vanilla ice cream cone, licking it as she walked. When she noticed Faris' eyes following her, she tried to hurry her steps, and a spot of ice cream smeared the corner of her mouth. So she put out her small tongue to lick it off. At that moment, the sun fell on half her face, so she glowed as a statue of pure gold on one side, while her other half was a coppery shadow of the first. That was when Faris slipped down to the deepest point of the well of her spirit, neither wishing to come out nor hoping that anyone would throw him a rope to save him. He followed her home. As she was opening the door, he asked her for her name, but she did not answer. "It doesn't matter," he told her. Then he added with a confidence that shook her small being, mark my words, you are going to be mine." Faris sent his mother on the following day to ask for her in marriage, and she returned with a flat refusal from her family. "She's still young," they told her. Durrat al-Ain was her parents' only daughter among 5 brothers. Her father owned a store for seeds and spices in the camp, where he sold coffee beans and za'atar and other spice mixtures. Faris waited a year and then sent his mother again. And again, they told her that she was still too young. A year later, his mother knocked on the door a third time, and Durrat al-Ain's mother answered her drily that they had no plans to marry her to anyone now. The fourth year, after Durrat al-Ain had finished her secondary studies, Faris importuned his mother to do what she had to do. So the poor woman dragged herself to the home of Durrat al-Ain's unwelcoming family, knowing what awaited her. This time, they told her that Durrat al-Ain's cousin had asked for her hand and that her father had agreed. Immediately, Faris climbed onto the roof of a house across from Durrat al-Ain's home and yelled, "I love Durrat al-Ain and I want to marry her. I love Durrat al-Ain. I love Durrat al-Ain. I want to marry her. Listen, hey people, I love Durrat al-Ain." People gathered in the lane, looking at him strangely and laughing, thinking he was either an imbecile or a shameless wanton. Durrat al-Ain's family closed the windows of their house, and her father said he'll shut up in the end. But Faris kept going on the roof every afternoon and shouting, "I love Durrat al-Ain and I want to marry her." He kept on shouting for 3 successive days, and on the 4th, her brothers took him off the roof and gave him a shattering beating in front of everyone. Durrat al-Ain was watching the painful scene from the window of her room and crying silently every time one of her angry brothers landed a punch or a kick. Her helpless heart was crushed under the pain. For more than a week, Faris was unable to walk. Then, when he recovered a little, he went back on the roof and once again began to cry out his love for Durrat al-Ain. That night, when he was going home, her brothers came out to him in the darkness. They were careful to make him see them, to make him see their eyes seeking vengeance against him. When they had surrounded him, one of them planted a knife in his belly. In the hospital, his mother cursed Durrat al-Ain and her family and called the plague down upon them. قالت إن شاء الله طاعون ياخذهم. Okay, yeah. Because he was almost killed because of, a woman, imagine. His mother cursed Durrat al-Ain and her family and called the plague down upon them. But Faris, who survived because the knife had not torn any of his internal organs, refused to give the police the name of the person who had attacked him or his description. He was masked, he said in his statement. And when his mother tried to dissuade him from protecting them, he said to her with a wink, "How could I, Mama? How could I even think of complaining about my in-laws?" Yes. Okay. Now, the day before the marriage contract with Durrat al-Ain's cousin was to be signed, كتب الكتاب we call it, yeah, Faris knocked firmly on the door. Her mother opened the door and saw him standing in a challenge, holding a plastic gallon container in his hand. He poured what was in it on his head, soaking his hair, face, and clothes with kerosene. Then he brought a lighter out of his pocket and told the stunned woman that if they didn't give Durrat al-Ain to him today, he would burn himself up in front of their house. People gathered around Faris, trying to convince him to turn away from this heinous act. Men whose wisdom was acknowledged in the camp tried to take the lighter out of his hand or pull him away from Durrat al-Ain's house. But Faris threatened everyone who came near him that he would set them and himself on fire. When the wise voices besieged the bride's father, he at last yielded to Faris' demand and promised to engage him formally to Durrat al-Ain within 2 days. No, now, insisted Faris. The wise ones asked him to wash off the kerosene at least. But Faris insisted that the official court, Ma'zoon, draw up the contract for him and his bride this minute while he was soaked with kerosene. The story goes, after the details were filled in and it spread and gained many additions during the evenings in the camp, people talk, of course, now about the story, that the Ma'zoon covered his nose while he was writing the contract for Faris and Durrat al-Ain, and that the groom, who remained standing and was not allowed to sit on a sofa, did not release the lighter from his hand even during the recitation of the Fatiha from the Quran. Some versions of the story maintain that Durrat al-Ain's father demanded from Faris a dower payment for 5,000 dinars and a pound of gold, and a delayed dower portion of 10,000. In other versions, the first payment was 10,000 and 2 pounds of gold, and the delayed portion was 20,000. But even if the versions of the event multiplied and differed in their details, the one thing that everyone in the camp agreed on was that the kerosene groom, as they termed Faris, was the happiest of men that day. A year after the kerosene engagement, Faris married the pearl of his eye in a celebration that lasted 3 days. 5 tents were erected in front of his house, and 2 streets were closed in the camp, while the earth shook to the rhythm of hundreds of dabka dances performed by the young men of the camp. That they stamped the earth with all the force of passion, and the dust flew into the air, intersecting with the strings of decorative lights. So the motes suspended in the air looked like scattered flecks of gold. In those days of jubilation, it was hard for a man to ignore the feeling of collective intoxication that came from the triumph of love, if only for one single time in history. I'll just read a little part in Arabic so that you can hopefully appreciate it in Arabic. So we'll talk about the love story, in Arabic, how it started. كانت درة العين في 14 حين أغرم فارس بها. كان فارس أكبر منها ب6 سنوات، وكان يعمل في محل خضار يبيع بالجملة للمحال الأخرى وعربات الخضار في السوق، مشرفاً على تلقي الطلبات وتسليمها. ما إن وقعت عيناه الغافلتان في عينيها الواسعتين بأطنان العسل الوفير فيهما حتى ذاب فيها على الفور. كانت درة العين في طريق عودتها من المدرسة، وكان شعرها البرونزي المائل للشقرة الشمسية مضفوراً في جديلتين تتدليان فوق صدرها الممسوح. فيما هفهفت she has a very small breast because she's a child still. فيما هفهفت غرتها الكثيفة فوق جبينها يلاعبها الهواء بعفوية. توقفت عند محل لبيع العصائر والبوظة. اشترت قرن آيس كريم فانيلا. لحست منه أثناء سيرها. حين لمحت عيني فارس تلاحقانها حاولت أن تسرع خطوها، فلطخت بقعة آيس كريم أرنبة فمها لتمد لسانها الصغير وتمسحها. في تلك اللحظة سقطت الشمس على نصف وجهها، فتوهجت تمثالاً من الذهب الخالص في أحد شقيه، فيما بدا الشق الثاني ظلاً له نحاسياً. عندئذ انزلق فارس في أعمق نقطة من بئر روحها، ولم يشأ أن ينهض، كما لم يسعى إلى أن يرمي له أحد حبلاً لينقذه. تبعها إلى بيتها He followed her home. سألها وهي تفتح الباب عن اسمها فلم تجب. مش مهم. قال لها وأضاف بثقة زعزع كيانها الصغير: اعمل حسابك، راح تكوني لإلي. Mark my words, you'll be mine. أرسل فارس أمه في اليوم التالي كي تخطبها له، فرجعت تحمل رفضا صريحا من أهلها. لسه صغيرة. قالوا لها كانت درة العين وحيدة أبويها بين 5 ذكور، وكان والدها يملك محل بزورية في المخيم لبيع البن والزعتر والبهارات. انتظر فارس عاما ثم أرسل أمه ثانية his mom again. قالوا لها إنها لا تزال صغيرة، وبعد عام طرقت فارس بابهم ثانية، فأجابتها درة العين بجفاء إنهم لا يفكرون بتزويجها الآن. They don't want to marry her now. وفي العام الرابع 4th year بعدما أنهت درة العين دراستها الثانوية، ألح فارس على أمه كي تقوم بما يتعين عليها القيام به، فجرجرت المسكينة نفسها إلى بيت أهل درة العين غير المضيافين وهي تعرف ما ينتظرها. هذه المرة قالوا لها إن ابن عم درة العين طلب يدها ووالدها وافق، فما كان من فارس إلا أن اعتلى سطح أحد البيوت قبالة بيت درة العين صارخا: أنا بحب درة العين وبدي أتجوزها، أنا بحب درة العين، بحب درة العين، بحب درة العين وبدي أتجوزها. يا ناس يا ناس يا هو، أنا بحب درة العين. التم الناس في الزقاق ينظرون إليه مستغربين وضاحكين، ظنوه أهبل أو خالعا. أهل درة العين أغلقوا شبابيك بيتهم. آخرتها رح يخرس في الشطب، قال أبوها، لكن فارس ظل يعتلي السطح كل عصر ويصيح بالساعات: بحب درة العين، بحب درة العين وبدي أتجوزها. ظل على صياحه 3 أيام متتاليات، وفي اليوم الرابع أنزله أشقاء درة العين من على السطح وأعملوا فيه ضربا وتحطيما في الشارع وسط الناس. كانت درة العين تراقب المشهد المؤلم من نافذة غرفتها وتبكي بصمت، وكلما طاولته لكمة أو رفسة من أحد أشقائها الغاضبين كان قلبها العاجز ينسحق من الوجع. لأكثر من أسبوع لم يكن فارس قادرا على المشي، حتى إذا استعاد بعض عافيته اعتلى السطح went to the roof again وصار يؤذن بحبه لدرة العين. It's a good أذان في الليل. وبينما كان عائدا إلى البيت خرج له أشقاؤها في العتمة وحرصوا على أن يجعلوه يراهم ويرى عيونهم المحملة بالنقمة عليه، حتى إذا حاصروه تماما غرس أحدهم سكينا في بطنه. في المستشفى دعت أمه على درة العين وعلى أهلها بأن يهلكهم طاعون، إلهي يأخذهم طاعون. لكن فارس الذي نجا لأن السكينة لم تمزق أحشائه الداخلية رفض أن يعطي الشرطة اسم الشخص الذي اعتدى عليه أو وصفه. كان ملثما، قال في إفادته. وحين حاولت أمه أن تثنيه عن تستره عليهم قال لها غامزا: معقول يما أشكي على نسايبي؟ I cannot complain against my in-laws, you know. قبل يوم من كتب كتاب درة العين على ابن عمها طرق فارس باب أهلها بثبات. فتحت أمها الباب فأبصرته يقف متحديا يحمل في يده جالونا بلاستيكيا دلق ما فيه على رأسه فتبلل شعره ووجهه وملابسه بالكاز. ثم أخرج من جيبه ولاعة وقال للمرأة الذاهلة بأنهم إذا لم يعطوه درة العين اليوم فسوف يحرق نفسه أمام بيتهم. تجمع الناس حول فارس ساعين إلى إقناعه بالعدول عن فعلته الشنيعة. رجالات مشهود لهم بالحكمة في المخيم حاولوا أن يأخذوا الولاعة من يده أو يسحبوه بعيدا عن باب بيت درة العين، لكن فارس هدد كل من يحاول الاقتراب منه بأن يولع فيهم وفي نفسه. إذ حاصرت الأصوات الحكيمة والد العروس رضخ أخيرا لطلب فارس ووعده بأن يكتب كتابه على درة العين خلال 2 يوم. بل الآن، قال فارس بتصميم now we'll get married. فطلب منه أهل الحكمة أن يغتسل من الكاز على الأقل، لكن فارس أصر بأن يعقد المأذون عليه وعلى عروسه الساعة وهو منقوع بالكاز. تقول الحكاية التي اكتملت تفاصيلها وفاضت واكتسبت زوائد كثيرة في ليالي السمر في بيوت المخيم إن المأذون غطى أنفه وهو يعقد على فارس وذرة العين، وأن العريس الذي ظل واقفاً ولم يسمح له بالجلوس على الكنبة لم يفلت الولاعة من يده طوال قراءة الفاتحة. وذهبت نسخة من الحكاية إلى أن والد درة العين كتب على فارس مهر 5000 دينار ونصف كيلوغرام ذهب ومؤخر صداق 10,000. وفي نسخة أخرى أن المقدم 10,000 وكيلوغرام ذهب والمؤخر 20,000. لكن وإن تعددت نسخ الواقعة واختلفت في التفاصيل فإن شيئاً واحداً أجمع عليه أهالي المخيم، وهو أن عريس الكاز كما لقبوا فارس the kerosene groom he was the happiest man، كان أسعد رجل في ذلك اليوم. بعد عام من خطبة الكاس تزوج فارس درة عينه the pearl of his eye في حفل دام 3 أيام 3 days celebration نصبت فيه 5 شوادر أمام بيت فارس سدت طريقين، وتزلزلت الأرض على وقع أقدام مئات الدبيكة من شباب المخيم يخبطون الأرض بقوة العشق، فيتطاير الغبار في الجو ويتقاطع مع حزم أضواء الزينة لتبدو ذراته العالقة في الهواء كنثار من الذهب. في أيام البهجة تلك كان من الصعب أن يغفل المرء عن استشعار تلك النشوة الجماعية المتأتية من انتصار الحب ولو لمرة واحدة في التاريخ. شكرا.
Amazing. Hanan, would you like? We have a little bit of time. How do you feel now? Will you be able to? Do we have questions that if take a couple of questions?
Yeah, why not? Yeah, okay.
Huzama?
Okay.
Yeah, just we have the room till 8, so we can take a couple of questions if you'd like. But Selma?
Yeah, I had a question. The earlier session was about love and loss, and the mentions that you made about how women used to sort of talk about sex or erotic subjects like quite openly. And I was just wondering whether that's something that has, in women's writing, has changed, has become more conservative or has become more liberal, or any thoughts on that compared to like maybe writing about the same subjects in like Anglo-Saxon literature? Any comments?
You mean in the Arabic literature
in
first?
Arabic literature by women. I mean, in terms of it becoming more conservative, I meant more, not in the writing, which I'm sure has become more open on the subject, but in terms of how people talk about it between women. Do you think that there has been a shift from your childhood to now in terms of a kind of discussion of profanity or?
Yeah, I know from when I go to Lebanon and I see my nieces, and they're quite daring. They don't write, but they're quite daring, and especially because of all the soap operas on television. There are so many, and now with the iPhones, with all the media, the technology, so everything is so open. They don't need to read books and novels of that writer or this writer. It's everywhere. Yeah, I thought at the contrary. It's very. At my time, the only thing we would inspired by or listen to were the gossips of women in the household. But now, I mean, it's so different. Yeah.
Huzama?
Well, I know it's an issue still for some writers, women writers, because it's one thing that you talk about these things openly, or among a close circuit of friends or relatives, and it's a totally different thing when you put it on paper and publish it. And because I always hear that the things that we say we don't have to write them or just to publish them, because once you publish it, you do not own it anymore. It's there for the others to read. And I do believe that this is a choice made by men and women, of course, is that when we write something here and we need to name things the way they are, and to talk about relationships openly, and to talk about all these taboos. You know, we always talk about sex, and then there's religion, and then there is politics, and they all go into, I mean, bizarrely enough, they intersect with each other in a very different manner sometimes, but they still, we have this kind of taboo. And the issue is that do we actually censor ourselves as women when we are writing because we are women? Or if we are going to censor ourselves because just we are women, the same does not apply to men's writing. This is an issue we all now talk about. I do believe, like Hanan said, that it's now much more open, this kind of discussions about, with especially new generations of women, even writers. And I do believe that the matter of the body and the relationship between men and women is much more complicated, because we are witnessing changes in the society, in the relation between people and the authority itself. And there are so much more pressing issues that is being involved, we are all involved in, which goes beyond further the strict kind of relationship, body-like relationship between a man and a woman. I did once read recently a story for someone that she talks about sex and about the relationship. Actually, it's about some sort of a defeated kind of sexual relationship with the man she loves in Arabic, but it's not still published, you know. I just read the draft, and it was interesting because she talked about the failed sexual relationship in terms of the political situation they are in. This is very interesting, you know, and it reminds me with a movie I read about. Unfortunately, I did not watch it, and I do hope that you can get the chance. I think it was a short movie about a Palestinian in Gaza, and he cannot have a sex relationship with his wife, either because the kids are awake or there's bombing in Gaza. So it's very interesting, you know, to read and to watch this kind of thing, you know. So this one here, it's an issue. It's a bigger issue. It is reflected in the kind of relationship we have.
Well, I don't live in the Arab world now. I live in England, and usually I'm living in the West, so I don't have really.
But to talk about, you know, the relationship between Arab personalities and characters, it's the kind of, you change the place, but your passion is still there.
Yeah, of course. But I write now about Arab characters who are living here.
But they bring with their luggage, you know, excess luggage and the burden of their, you know.
Yeah, but they changed as well. And we have, they changed, and we have other things to talk about here.
Of course.
And
In the Occasional Virgin, you have a character who is
the Islamist.
Yes. I mean,
the Islamist
at
speaker school.
Serious.
It's like a satire, because I can't take it really as a person and as a writer. I can't take it seriously, these issues about virginity. I have to laugh at it. And I mean, I feel that because I'm living here, I can't be hypocrite. I can't write about the Arab world now. I mean, my mother took me back to the Arab world to write about her life. So it was a good experience. But I can't think that I want to write about characters living in Beirut or in any other Arab countries, like, for example, the collection of my short stories. Unless if I want and live there and become, you know, all over again, living there and feeling things.
You think the writing will be different if you were still in Lebanon or another country?
Maybe, who knows?
Because I know that it's a pressure to live in a place with certain norms and conditions, and I myself of course, I've been living in the Arab world and I'm still living there, even though I travel a lot. And I know it's a challenge, but it's worth fighting. You know, when you talk about, you know, that usually when I write, and I'm always kept, that people keep asking me, I mean, can you write freely? Can you say what you want to say? And I say, yes, I can write freely, and I write freely as long as I believe in what I'm writing in. And even though some voices would criticize my being, you know, over rude. They don't say I'm courageous sometimes, or iconoclastic in a way, or talk about sex, about relationships and like that. And it's a challenge in itself, but it's worth fighting for. And therefore, I do believe that as a writer, no matter where you live, maybe when you live outside in the Arab world, you have much more freedom.
Yes,
you know?
yeah,
but still, it's still, you have your own system of beliefs that you carry on wherever you are.
But your writing, it has to also, you have to be inspired by where you're living. Like you can't be living, you know, in London and talking or writing about the Arab world. I feel that it is like, in a way, I'm hypocrite if I did this. Like, for example, Beirut Blues. I wasn't during the war in Lebanon. The first few years I was in Lebanon. But afterwards, when I was living here in London and I wanted to write about Beirut, I thought I would write like letters, in form of letters. Because I couldn't. I started writing as if I am still in the war. I'm writing about the war and I'm writing what I'm feeling about it. But I thought, no, I'm not there. I shouldn't. I should write it as if I'm writing letters.
Yeah.
I think Karen has a question.
Yeah.
Karen?
I wanted to ask about the love story. And I was listening to it, and particularly when you were reading in Arabic, it was quite clear there was a lot of emotion in there and quite a lot of humor as well. But I was a bit puzzled about the lover, about Farid.
About
Paris.
Yes.
Who clearly is a very persistent young man. He's very faithful and staunch in his love, and keeps going back and asking and asking. But in one way, one could also say he's a bit of a stalker, isn't he? And he's sort of harassing the family and the girl. And I don't quite see the voice and the choice of the young woman in there, unless she talks through the wedding dress.
No, actually, when her brothers were beating him, she was crying and she was looking because she had feelings for him. And these feelings, remember that we're talking about 4 years. Okay, so here the relationship developed in the terms of 4 years. She knows that this person is there waiting for her, and there's an innuendo that she knew him then. In this kind of, you know, when the running of the years, and he comes every year, he sends his mom, and maybe in between he would follow her, and he told her, "You are mine." So it's a kind of love that is there, even though we don't expect it to be there. And not only that, but if you read in the novel actually, and that's why there's something about the names. It was always meant Durrat al-Ain. He never says Durra. Durrat al-Ain, the pearl of the eye. And his name is Faris, is like a knight. Okay?
Knight.
And it's very much like a fairy tale story. And Hawa, she visits her after 15 years. She's married to Faris, and she has 6 kids now. And she had this dress kept in her cupboard, and it doesn't fit her anymore, of course, you know. But she kept it, you know. It's like a relic. It's like an author. It's like a treasure. And she lives now outside the camp. She does not live in the camp anymore, because if you want love to grow and endure, you cannot live in a camp. And even the way her house was built in Safut, in a very nice place in Amman, is sort of magical. It's something you say, is it true? Readers, she told her, "How did you build this house? It's very beautiful." She said, "I was sleeping, and I dreamt of the house. She woke up and she told Faris, you know what? I dreamt that we have a beautiful house. And he told her, draw your dream.
Yeah.
Can you remember the dream? She says, yes, vividly. And she drew the house, she saw her dream, and Faris built the house for her. So I know and that's why it is said that Hawa doesn't go to her clients to give them their clothes, but because she loves Durrat al-Ain and she's more of a friend than a client to her, and she was attached to her, and she wasn't as pretty as men in that camp would look for, the peasant-like beauty, you know. She was thin, she was dark, rather darker than other women, and she doesn't have this kind of measurements of beauty, which is the common norm. And that's why it's too good to be true, and it's almost unbelievable story. And they ended dancing the dabka, and when they were beating their grounds and just the dust, it was, when it mixed, you know, with the lights, it looked like gold, but it's not like gold. It's sort of an illusion maybe. So that's why we would like to believe. And this story, it was told from me to you two, and each person would take the story and add things to them. So it became like a fairy tale. And we all would like to believe in the camp that love won. Maybe this time. Because in the camp, love does not really win.
Wins, no?
Adia?
Yeah, I wonder why you put the pretty young girl behind the window and looking to him from the window, and all the society are men.
Yeah.
Only the
in
men,
the camp.
they make the life,
Yeah.
and not the women.
Yeah, and the women tell the stories.
They are the storytellers.
They are the story,
Yeah, the storyteller,
Yeah.
but the man is the main character.
No, but they live
Yeah.
it as well.
Yeah, they
Not
live it.
only-
And this is تجمع الناس, you know, people, you know, تجمع الناس, people, you know, they were there just looking at. And the girl actually,
There is no
of
sound
course,
woman.
the girl, she was crying. And her heart was crushed with every single kick he would take. She could not say to her parents, I want him.
Of course.
She can't.
Part of
Come on.
tradition.
And not only that, they told him that she is going to get married to her cousin. So it's very traditional kind of family. And imagine a young lady, give me a man who would wait a woman for 4 years, and who would be kicked, and he would be stabbed, and he would go on the roof, and he told he will be mine. Give me that man now.
And maybe she was silently in love with him
Yeah.
because he is fighting for her. He
Yeah.
wants her.
She
So
dream of
his love,
dream of this life.
yeah, his love was so strong. She couldn't say no.
You had a question? sir?
We all
Did you
want
have a
that.
question? Yeah. No? Okay. Anybody else? Okay.
Good.
1, 2, 3.